So what was it that you wanted?
So there's kind of a little intro to it because it's this small thing that I manifested, this bag of apple and oranges. But it was very symbolic for me at the time because I just turned 18 and um, I had a really hard childhood kind of, and I was in a very big hurry to escape from it. And so I just like the second I turned 18, even though I wasn't ready, I just ran away, like moved out as fast as I could. And it was hard and it was a struggle and I had a lot of pain and it really reflected in my finances. And so I was at the time like all I did for a living was I just did spiritual readings, and it was enough and stuff. And I had worked jobs before that, and I just really felt like inspired to just really put myself to the test, like with manifesting my own money. And I really came at it from this place at first that wasn't really beneficial or balanced for me at the time, but and just kind of like escaping something instead of like changing myself first. And so I struggled a lot financially, and yeah, like I could barely afford food, but it was a huge, awesome experience because it really showed me like, hey, I'm the source of all this stuff that I'm creating in my life. Even though it was a little hard to admit and it was easier to want to like blame parental figures and certain circumstances and events. Like I had this one shift. I was really struggling, and um, I was really trying to like get down like money manifestation,
Yeah.
and I was really making it a lot harder than it needed to be. And there was just this one day. It was like me, my twin sister, and our roommate, and we lived in this tiny little studio house together with three dogs. It was crowded,
Mhm.
but um, you know, I she was into this like MLM type of thing, and she had to go travel for it. And so one day we
MLM?
like,
Wait, what's MLM? I've never heard of that.
oh, it's like a multi-level marketing, like,
Oh, okay. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
So she had to go to like travel somewhere for it.
Mhm.
So we gave her and her friend that was also involved in it a ride to the bus station. Um, my sister and I did, and they like loaded all their stuff in our car and then took it all out, got on the bus. And I'd really like just really wanted apples and oranges for some reason. I was just like, that sounds so good, and I just like I didn't really make it about like, oh, I need to get this and like bring up this resistance. I just like enjoyed the idea of it and just like, oh, like that sounds so good right now, like, and just kind of imagined what it would taste like and how it would feel like at the
Yeah.
time, and
Yeah.
just kind of let it go.
Right.
And then I got a phone call from my friend, my roommate at the time, and she was like, "Hey, my friend, like her other friend that we had given a ride also, like had happened to have left a bag of apples and oranges in my trunk." And she was like, "They're gonna be bad by the time I get back. You guys can just have them." And it was just like such a random, weird,
Yeah.
freaky thing for me at the time.
Well, it's super random because it's apples and oranges. Like, it's not just
Yeah,
apples and not just
yeah,
oranges.
yeah,
I mean, what are
yeah,
the odds of that?
yeah,
Um,
exactly.
was it like a bag? Was it two separate bags? Like, wait, I'm just curious about the
Oh,
details. Like, was it a bag of apples and a bag of oranges, or it was just like one apple, one orange, or maybe that
it
doesn't
was.
matter. I don't know, but I'm just kind of
Well,
curious.
yeah. It was actually a bag of both, like a bunch of apples and a bunch of oranges.
Wow, so they were mixed in the bag. To me, that
Yep,
makes it even more coincidental for some reason. I don't know. I've
I know.
never seen like a, maybe it's just here in Ohio or something, but it's not like you can go to the store and like buy a bag of mixed. Well, I guess like if you went to like a market or something, you put them in the bag yourself. I guess maybe it
Yeah.
was like that.
I don't know. I
But
have no idea how they came about, but
Um,
It was really cool.
so how long was it from the time that you decided, okay, I'm gonna try and manifest? Well, first, I guess, did you make that decision like, okay, I'm really gonna try and manifest this, or was it more like you were just daydreaming and then it happened?
Um, it was in that case, it was more of just kind of daydreaming and then it happened. Because
Yeah,
prior to that, like I felt like I was trying to manifest money from that place of like, I gotta manifest this, like I gotta try and
yeah,
manifest this, and just having like so much resistance to and making it way harder than it needed to be. And then
yeah,
that incident showed me that like, hey, it doesn't have to be so hard, and it's not so
yeah.
hard, you know.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was definitely more of like just kind of casually thinking about it and thinking that'd be nice. And then how long did it take until you got that call from your friend or whatever?
It was within the same day.
Oh, it was the same day. Okay,
Mhm.
that's cool.
Yeah. Mhm.
Um, so when your friend called you and she was like, "Hey, I have this," did you know immediately that it was because of your daydreaming, or was it only after the fact that you thought back and thought, "Oh wait, I created that," or
Yeah, I knew immediately. Like I told
yeah,
my sister. I told my sister. We were both like, "Oh my God,
yeah,
crazy!"
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool. That's always a cool feeling. Yeah, to
Yeah.
especially to have it happen so quickly. I feel like a lot of times people, they manifest things and then they don't even know. They totally forget that they put in
Hmm.
the imaginal act or whatever. And
Yeah.
then yeah, and then it sucks because you don't get that reward of realizing, hey, I did this. Because that's almost the
Yeah.
best part. It's not even about the fruit as much as that reassurance that, hey, I did it. I
Yeah.
did it.
I think for a lot of people, like they are always. I mean, the universe is always responding to us, and we're always
Yeah.
sending out this vibration that's kind of being met with manifestations always. And so,
Yeah.
I think that a lot of people can just kind of get unconscious about what they're sending out.
Yeah.
So I think that once we start becoming like aware of where we're at within ourselves, then it becomes more familiar. Like we become more aware of our manifestations.
Yes. Well, yeah, absolutely. So I'm curious, are you still really into the idea of manifesting money? Is that something that's still important to you, or is it something
Um,
that you're getting better at, do you feel like, or how do you feel about that now?
oh yeah, I mean, that was like definitely a big turning point for me because it wasn't just about money. It was about this underlying thing of like escaping the pain from my childhood.
Hmm.
And so it was about trying to like feel just like feeling um like I can stand on my own and persevere through this, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Right.
But it was,
Right.
yeah, but it wasn't like it was to kind of like prove something to myself that I just didn't really need to prove. I just needed to like let go of, and I kind of
Yeah.
used money as that tool. So, I mean, I definitely feel pretty healed from the whole childhood stuff, and I feel like that's really because it's like I almost made money like this validation thing at the time because um for many reasons, but I like as I healed like my own self-worth and childhood wounds, it my money started inflowing more, and I
Yeah.
became more clear in like myself and like following inspiration and attracting clients and things. So I
Right.
mean, it's definitely way better,
Yeah.
and definitely not struggling, you know,
Well, that's great.
anymore. So yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I definitely know a couple people who could relate to that story, who seem, like they're really concerned about money. And yeah, it's interesting that you were able to trace that desire back to almost more of like a fear-based thing, or trace it back to just some negative beliefs maybe about yourself or about your past. And then it wasn't until you were able to resolve those those issues, that things got easier. I think,
Mhm.
yeah, I think that's a really important lesson for a lot of people. There are
Yeah.
definitely people out there who just want money because it sounds fun, because like, yeah, I want to be super rich. And if you feel
Yeah.
that way about it, then yeah, that's cool. But I think that a lot of people, when they're first starting out, obviously the first thing they think is, yeah, I want more money. And they don't really go into the question of, well, why do I want more money? Or,
Yeah. I
yeah,
totally agree with that. I feel like that manifestations, when we're wanting a certain thing, it's because we're wanting this feeling. So I feel
yeah,
like it's really helpful to know what it is that we're really wanting. Whether it's like this
right,
sense of validation, wanting more
right,
fun, more ease, whatever it
right,
is.
right. Yeah, what is it that you really want? Yeah, and if you
Hmm.
don't answer that question, you're not able to really visualize it properly because you're
Hmm.
visualizing something that's not going to really like evoke that really emotional response that you need in order to manifest effectively. So that's such an
Totally.
important question.
Yeah.
Um,
I
cool.
totally agree. It's really important to know what it is that because when you're visualizing something, it's like it's not just about seeing it, it's like experiencing it in
Yes,
that moment,
yes,
and the
yes.
feeling of it, smelling it even or whatever,
Right.
whatever
Yes,
you can.
totally. Great. Well, thank you very much for, I don't know, I think that's a great story. I really enjoyed it.
Thank
Do you have
you.
any final tips for someone who maybe is just getting started out and maybe they want to manifest some fruit or something?
um I would say to definitely be aware of what it is that you're sending out into the universe, like vibrationally, and how you're aware of that is to kind of be aware of like what kind of thoughts you're practicing daily and if they're negative and if you're choosing to focus on these negative things. I would say that's really important, and I would also say to be aware of what it is that you really want, you know um, the feeling, what feeling are you actually looking for, and when you incorporate more of that it becomes a lot easier.